So this is about how to build trust with clients and within team. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, so
we can actually make it into a regular. I think we should hopefully see both the PPT as well as our team members. Okay, we will keep our videos on for this session, so that
okay.
that will help in making it a sort of a multi-way kind of a yeah. Okay, so see what you can do to get, let's say, the videos on the right hand side or whatever, whichever way works for you guys. Okay, yeah. Okay, Sina, please.
Chiram, can you bring the presentation back?
Yeah.
So trust in general, right? It's a very important underlying factor in all our interactions in business, in our any relationship that we have with anybody, right? So trust, generally when we meet a person like somebody, you can say that you like that person or you respect that person. That can come out immediately, but you trust that person, that is something that will not come out immediately. Trust is something that gets accumulated over time, right? With the experiences that you have with that person, and it grows slowly, but it can be lost rapidly. And trust is also something that is it's two-way, right? And it's very personal. Even though it is very important for a business context, it is very, very personal. It's a very personal thing, right? So whenever in any client relationship also, trust has two different parts. So one is the rational part and the other one is the emotional part. The rational one is like the client experience of the expertise that we bring to them to solve their problems. That's the rational part. And the other one is the emotional part, the way we show our support, our dedication to clients' interest, how we constructively challenge the client at certain situations, right? So these are all the emotional parts, that would come in to build trust. So there are many situations where we might have thought of like, how can I get access to my clients more often? How can I cross-sell this thing? How do I get clients to play fair with me, right? So like any such similar questions, how do I get them to focus more on the value that we add to them rather than the daily interactions and like things like that, right? So the answers to many of these questions is that when we earn the client's trust, right, all these ambitions can be realized. That is a hard thing to do, but it's a very valuable thing to do. So when clients generally trust us more, they'll reach for our advice, be inclined to accept and act on recommendations. The second point is very important and very interesting too. They will share more information that helps us to help them. That is that will happen only when they trust us. They will give us information that can help us improve the quality of service that we provide to them. They will refer their friends and business acquaintances. They will forgive us when we make a mistake, and they'll even protect us when we need it, even within their own organization. All that will happen when they trust us. Here I'm next slide. Yeah. So this is the different relationships, like business relationships. So there is like service-based, needs-based, relationship-based, and trust-based. So if you look at the service-based, the focus is on information and giving answers on time and at high quality. So they come for a specific thing, a very specific thing. We just do that on time, and good results we give them, and that ends there. Needs-based is slightly more higher level, where they come to us with a problem, we solve their problem by providing a solution, and we try to implement that solution. It is more longer term oriented, slightly more. Then comes the relationship-based business. So here is where we try to add more value to them in any way possible. We provide insights. they get new ideas as to how they can like do different things. So that's the relationship-based business, and a hallmark factor of relationship-based business is repeat business. They come back again and again, and that is the identification for that. The final one that is very valuable is trust-based. So if you see the first three, the focus is on different things. The first one is on that specific answer that the client needs. Second, needs based, it's on the specific problem that we're trying to solve. For the relationship based, it's at the organization level. We try to add value to different teams wherever we can and try to help the organization as much as we can. Final one, trust based, is more individual. So at this level of relationship is where the professional and the personal slightly mingle, right? So they trust us as a person and we do the same. And here we understand the client. So it's more personally oriented, and they can talk about anything to us, right? So that is this level of relationship. It is marked by a broad range of business issues as well as a deep personal relationship. Slide, sir.
I agree with that. I think let's go back. I think this has a lot of information here, so yeah. It's a very good slide. So see, when when we are trying to, so first of all, I think one additional point, I think all the points are fantastic actually. So I think trust, when we say trust, right? So being trustworthy is not a quality that we have just at work or anything like that, right? So this is a quality that is the nature of a certain person, right? It's important to understand what sort of enhances the trust and what does not. Okay. So I think trust is, so when we say, when we become trustworthy, right? It helps us with our siblings, right? Our relatives, parents. Also, it helps, right? Even there also we have to earn trust. It is not like, so there is an implicit trust from a financial standpoint and so on, right? But even there also there is a trustworthiness factor that comes into picture, right? Even there we have to earn the trust. Okay, it is not like, okay, it is the duty of a parent to trust us. It is not necessarily like that. We expect it, but it is not necessarily like that, right? We have to earn trust there as well. So in every relationship, every person, right? Every person that you touch, that you interact with, there is a certain constant sort of evaluation of whether we as individuals are trustworthy or not, right? And their actions show it. Yeah. Okay. So one additional piece that I wanted to just ask you guys. See, when we are trying to understand our clients, right? So what do I mean by understand the clients? What I mean by that is, so we are trying to understand their business, right? Mm-hmm. So in this particular framework, where does understanding clients' business so we can help them better, right? Where does this fit?
It fits on the second or third one, depending on the specific problem. It fits more on the relationship based. A little bit it also helps on the needs based.
Okay. Any other thoughts? Anyone else?
I think it's for myself, it should be the second one, needs based.
Needs based. Okay. All right. Anyone else? Okay, I think it partly, so I agree with that. It sort of, it can fit there. It can also fit here a little bit in providing insights, because it is this information that helps us provide insight. It can also fit here a little bit, right? But in any case, understanding That, as well as, see, many times we have discussed before, a chit chat with the client, right? So once you chit chat with the client, that is when, you could potentially sort of, transcend the business relationship into a little bit more personal relationship.
Yeah.
Right? It is those small things that help trigger a conversation, right? If we just discuss tasks and close it, right? The relationship can never transcend the, sort of work kind of a relationship, right? When we chit chat, and this is not just with the client, but also amongst ourselves as well, right? So, and it goes beyond just work, transaction kind of a thing to something else, right? So I think you can see as you go from here to here, I am unable to, I'm able to So as I think, Jairam and Sina have also pointed this out. So as you go from top to the bottom here, right? So the relationship gets a little deeper with the client, and there are, so I think it's not just because, at the end of it, we want more money or more business. That's not the only intention. It is that we become more respectable, right? See, we do not open up in front of everyone, isn't it? We open up only in terms of certain people where we feel that they will keep our information confidential. Let's say you discuss one, very important thing with that guy or the person, and then this person goes and tells everyone else, right? See, this person has this particular problem. Do you think we are going to open up in front of that person again? Never, right? We'll not make that mistake again, right? If the person keeps it confidential, right? And there are certain other aspects also. I think Jairam and Sina are going to get to it soon, so we'll not go to that. Okay, but yeah, all right. Please carry on. Yeah. Anything else? Anyone else wanted to ask or talk about? Okay, please, yes.
All right. So, earning trust. So, how do we earn trust? It is very clear that it's not done by saying, trust me. Right? It is like nothing is more likely to get the client to put his or her defenses up than when you shout, trust me. So one basic premise in earning trust is that you must be ready to give in order to get. What do I mean by that? Let us say I'm just getting a situation. Let's say a person wants a lawyer in order to probate one of their relatives' will. Okay, the first few lawyers he speaks with, they try to win his business by telling him when their firm was founded, how many offices they had, how much they charge, all of this regular stuff, right? None of this inspired much confidence for this person. Okay, so in fact, the more they talked about themselves and the firms, the less interested he appeared to be, and the less interested they appeared to be for him, because they weren't interested on his specific problem, but they were talking more about themselves. Finally, let's say he meets a lawyer who in the initial phone call asks, how much do you know about probating a will? And the client's reply was, nothing, I don't know anything about it. So then let us say the lawyer offers to fax him a comprehensive outline of all the steps involved, what the client has to do immediately, what he should forget about for a while because it's not urgent, right? So it's a list of steps, and he also, let's say he faxes the phone numbers of all the government organizations that the client needs to notify. Even though this has nothing to do with the legal work of the lawyer, right? But all of this is very immensely helpful for the client. And this information is provided without the client asking for it, right? He has put in a lot of effort, and it's immensely helpful for the client. And naturally, the lawyer, gets retained and he'll get the business. So here it is he was ready to put in more effort and help the client out without the client asking for it, and he gets something for the effort that he put in. Right? So this is one situation where I try to explain what I mean by you must be ready to give in order to get. Another one is a very successful consulting firm, and they have a strategy of acquiring new clients, and how they have done it is they.
So Sina, just 1 second. Sina, sorry to interrupt you.
Yes.
See, I think that thing that you mentioned is a very powerful sort of a case kind of a thing, right? So can anyone else talk about any similar issue, where you could, I think there's something to unpack there. So is the situation clear to everyone? Situation is clear? I think maybe we have to speak up. I think you can also give a thumbs up if you like. The situation, was it clear, or should we explain it one more time? Maybe we can run through it one more time. Sina can do that.
Yeah.
Okay, Sina, why don't you just state that one more time?
Okay. So there's a person who wants a lawyer to probate one of their relatives' will. Okay. So, and for this, he is going to contact different lawyers and see whom he can take up for this job. He contacts a few lawyers at first. He tries to speak with them to explain what he needs, and they all start by telling him like when their firm was founded, how much office they have, right, and how much they charge, all those regular stuff, right? They are trying to win his business. That's what they're trying to do, right? And the more they talked about themselves, this person was not very much interested. It did not give him confidence to select that lawyer for doing this job. Finally, let's say he meets a lawyer who asks him, how much do you know, sir, about probating a will? And the client says, I know nothing. So then the lawyer tells him, he offers to fax him all the details that he should know in the situation. He tells that I'll give you a list of steps involved, what you have to do immediately, and what you need not worry about right now because it's not urgent, right? It's a list of things to do. And he also gives all the phone numbers of all the organizations, government bodies that he has to notify, for this probation of the will. So all this is nothing related to legal work. There's no reason that he should have done all this, being a lawyer, right? But all this is immensely helpful for the client, because that is the situation he is in and he needs all this. And the lawyer provided all this to him without even the client asking for it. And the client really found it very helpful and useful, and he retained that lawyer and he got the business eventually. This is the situation that I explained.
Got it. See, first of all, let's look at the example. See, I don't think many of us would have dealt with lawyers. Right? Does anyone have experience of dealing with lawyers?
No.
Probably not. That's we would like to avoid them.
Yeah.
If there is a big situation, only then we get to the lawyers, isn't it? Yeah. So, but let's say if there is a situation that we have to get to a lawyer, right? Then do we approach anyone and everyone, right? So it's not like a taxi, sort of, we don't even bother who the person is. If it's a Uber, if the vehicle shows up, that's good. Right, isn't it? Right? But lawyer is not like that, right? Similarly, a doctor is also not like that, right? So that's the reason why these have become professions, right? And every profession has a code of conduct associated with it. You can do this, you cannot do that, right? And so on. So because we want people to, be in such a way that you could potentially game people, right? Which is happening even though the code of conduct and all of that is there, it's still happening at this point to some extent, to a good extent. So that is the nature of this profession called lawyer. The service that we need is a lawyer, right? So what is the person, how did it go in that particular conversation? So this person first asked, hey, do you know something about it? Okay, what do you know? What do you not know? Right? And this person has demonstrated. Okay, so here, I mean, we can say, okay, give before you get, etc. But I think it's also another thing to say, hey, what is it that you know? And hey, here is some information that you could, that you could use, right? So what does that do? First is, hey, let me first understand your problem reasonably well. Okay, so that actually gives you a chance to listen to the other person and understand the context before we go on a sales pitch, right? Just so you know, I think we did not sort of think of it like this, that we want to earn trust, etc. But typically we start off all our initial client calls with, please tell us what's your problem. Okay, and that's a reasonable way over a period of time. First, because I want to know what the problem is, because I want to help the client, and also I want to check if we can help them or not. Right? If we don't want to help them, we don't want to waste their time. Yes. Right? So 2-3 days ago, we had a call with the client, and sort of the client first told us what the client wants, and we realized quickly that this is not something we can help them, or we do not have interest in that particular thing. Right? So for that reason also, we start off with that, but we get a chance to listen to the client. Okay, so moving on. So it also, in this particular example, it gives the person a chance to, one, listen, number two, also to demonstrate the expertise. Right? See, if you would like to write a will, these are the steps involved. Okay, it is a matter of educating the person who is in front of us, right? And then share some examples, whatever the information and all of that, that clearly shows to the individual two things. Okay, so just so you know, it has happened just a few days ago that we are trying to get into we are trying to hire a vendor. Okay, in fact, we have put in a deposit also. Okay, and even though we put in the deposit, the person was unwilling to work because the person says you have to put 100% deposit upfront. Only then we will work with you. Right? Then I was thinking, okay, this person wants no risk at all from our side. Even though we were willing to put in a 50% deposit, this person is not even willing to trust us even a little bit. Right? And up until then, I had no chance of appreciating the person's credibility. Okay, no demonstrations. So we said, okay, if you are unwilling to work, even if we put in 50%, there's no chance for us to trust you any further. I think we should close it. Right? And we got our money back, and we are like moving on with it. Right? We would like to find another person. Okay. So the demonstration of expertise is an important aspect of this. So that is one of the pieces that Sina was talking about. That, okay, so this person showed how much the person knew, okay, and the fact that this is the right person because he knew so much about all of these things. So that sort of, there are different aspects to trust. It proves the technical aspect of the trust, that this person knows what he or she is discussing about, and potentially we could trust that individual. Yeah, okay, all right. So anything else that you guys would like to add here? Okay, please go ahead, Sina and Jera.
Okay. So another example in our same domain that we are is from one of the consulting companies, a major consulting firm, built its success on a strategy of carefully selecting the target clients that it wants to pursue, and before it makes first contact with the client, what they do is they do a thorough analysis of the industry in which the client is in. They did not just collect the facts, they truly did an analysis and developed insights, point of views, all those stuff, and then they would approach their target client, and then they would say, hey, see, we have some unique insights into your industry, and we would like to come and share them with you for free, of course. We don't. We think we have got some information and views that are a little different. Maybe come and discuss them with you. Are you up for it? So that was the first point of contact after putting in a lot of effort and creating something that will be valuable for the client whom they want to pursue. So then, and this was a very successful strategy for that company. So this also, illustrates the same point. You must give and be ready to give in order to get. Yeah. So that is one a very straightforward way to earn trust. To showcase that you're interested, to showcase that you have capabilities, and to showcase that you're willing, to work with the client. And that,
if I can add one more point here.
Yeah.
So recently, I have had 2 instances where I was like, very happy with the amount of, the trust the other person reposed in me. So, one of my family members was sick, and I was like trying to get some fruit juice, from outside. There is someone here, and the person, I don't know if you guys face this, but once you do UPI payments like 10 times in 24 hours, so at least in HDFC Bank, they don't allow us to do anymore.
Yes,
So, have you faced that?
yes, sir, the next.
So that was like Vinayak Chavati times. I was like paying around, and the 10 got over. So, and then I went to that fruit juice guy, and so he gave it, and I was not able to pay. I didn't even have my debit card, anything else. I had just my phone. And this guy said, "Don't worry, you pay me tomorrow." I was like, wow, So you see, he doesn't know me. This is probably one of the first times I'm interacting. He doesn't know me for sure. He did not ask my phone number, which exact place do I live and all of that. He said, "Give me tomorrow, no problem." Right? I was like, very thankful that this person has chosen to trust. I think it is a different thing in, let's say, relatively small towns or something, but in see, look at the other person that I mentioned some time ago, right? We put in 50% deposit, and the person did not even get started, right? As opposed to that, this person is willing to trust somebody else, right? So this is one thing that happened. The other thing that happened was in this last weekend, I went to a nearby restaurant, okay? And there it is even larger. I think in the first one, it was like about 100 rupees or something in the first one. This one is about 500 rupees plus actually. And so this has also got to do with UPI, unfortunately. So I paid, and it went into this processing mode, right? So it neither says it's done, nor does it say it's not done, right? It is hanging in balance, right? And many times it fails.
Yeah.
Okay. So some time ago, when I went to some other place, that person, it did not process. And the person said, "You pay me again, and if the first one clears and if I get the money again, I will refund you." So he gets payment twice, and then once he is willing to refund, right? So, but this person said, that the restaurant that I went to, he said, "Don't worry. So we will see whatever happens. If it doesn't happen, you come back and pay me." Okay, and I was like, oh. He's not asking for a second payment, right? And he's willing to trust this one to start with, right? And he doesn't even. This is even a little further than where I live, so he has no way of getting to me. I asked him, "Please write your phone number on the back of the bill. So if it fails, I'll pay you." Okay, and I was like very happy that he was willing to trust me first. Then my trust in him went up. Right, so I think this is another aspect I just wanted to share. Anyone else wants to share any other stories? Okay. Sorry, Anushree, you want to say something?
Yeah, so actually this happens all the time here. So as mentioned, in small towns, they easily trust. And I don't know why, like, everyone trusts me very frequently only. So once I went
That's
to a
very
sweet
good
shop,
for you.
once I went to a sweet shop, I didn't have enough money in my wallet. So they told, okay, you take it and give me tomorrow or whenever you come back. So the next day I gave them back. But yeah, it's nice whenever anyone trusts like this.
Nice. Yeah, Sina, go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So this is like the framework that is there on that book that it's for a trusted advisor for the 5 different stages of building a book. But here we'll specifically focus on one stage that is very much relevant to us. The others I'll touch upon. Okay? So the first one is engage stage. So it's the initial connection between the professional and the client. That sets the stage for the client to want to discuss their need. So this stage is an investment in the part of the client. They invest their time and energy and they take a risk on the professional to see if it works out or not. Okay, that's the first stage. And to convert this into the next stage is where we must be willing to give in order to get. This is that stage. Okay. Then the next stage is the most important stage here is listening. Okay. Listening is essential so that you can earn the right to consult to give advice to the client. So it's like for the next stages to happen, this should happen effectively, right? So typically good listeners, right, they probe and ask for further clarificatory questions, right? They let the client speak more. They ask open-ended questions so that they speak more, and then we can understand. We try to understand what is exactly going on, right? They listen for a story or unvoiced feelings or emotions, right? That so that they can grasp the whole thing, right? These are during when somebody is speaking, right? You should maintain eye contact, all that stuff, right? Nodding, showing encouragement for them to speak, giving a slight smile, all this is there, right? Once they have spoken, right, a very important point is to summarize it so that the client understands that you have understood what they've said. So it is not just enough to listen, but it's also important to be perceived by the client that we're actually listening. Both should happen, right? So you summarize the discussion so that both are on the same page, and you get rid of any distractions while listening. Close the door, like keep your phone away, all that type of stuff, right? The things not to do in this stage are do not interrupt. Like when somebody is trying to tell a story or tell something, right, they'll have a flow, and when we interrupt it might not get conveyed the way they want it to. So first, do not interrupt, and do not respond too soon. There's no urgency to respond very quick, okay? And do not jump to conclusions before fully hearing out what the client has to say. One very common thing that many professionals and advisors do is to solve the problem too quickly. Once they hear some certain things that they want to hear, right, based on their previous experiences, they'll start solving the problem. They'll start offering solutions, and that shuts down the client a bit, right, because they feel that we haven't fully understood the problem, what they're going through. So that jumping to conclusions or trying to solve the problem too quickly is a negative thing, and that shouldn't be done in this stage, listening stage. That is the most important stage, okay? And then comes the framing stage, where you crystallize and encapsulate the issue into a problem definition. So this is where we are right now. It's like a where we are stage, right? Then envisioning is like where we want to be. Even after defining where we are, you can't go to jump to solution. There's another important stage called envisioning, where you want to be, right? Because typically when we have summarized the problem, client will ask a question, okay? So what do we do now? And once we hear that question, we'll have something going on within ourselves, as if that we have to respond immediately, else doubt will be cast on our professional capability. No, not necessarily. Okay, so before we jump to a solution, we need to clearly understand where we want to reach, where we want to be. Once we discuss that, then we can think about how to reach there. Right? So envisioning is the final stage where you want to be, and it's a collaborative journey, so both client and you have to talk about it. Right? Then the final one is commit, and here's where you finalize the action plan. So basically you you clearly articulate what you will do and what you will not do, what the client should do and what the client will not do. Right? You define the boundary of the analysis you'll perform. You identify the precise working arrangements, right? The methods and frequency of communicating. Right? Decide on the milestones and progress reviews. Right? All this is implementation plans, and that is the commit stage, the final stage. The discovery of this whole process happens on the second stage, listening, and the whole process hinges there. Okay? So that is the most important step.
So moving on to the next slide. So finding the right word. So what we mean.
Jairam, 1 second, sorry again. So if we can just go back to this, yes, I think so. The listening thing, I think the things that you mentioned, Sina, they're all very important. So I think there is a need for us to just unpack that a little bit. Okay. So for example, see, let's take maybe a couple of situations. Okay. So all right. So I'll just take one example. All right. So I want you guys to just hear me out here. So let us say, first example, right? So you are on a highway, you are going in a car, right? And you would like to buy some water, right? So there is a shop that has come where the water is sold, right? So you sort of halt, you go to that person, right? So what would you tell that person? Give me a bottle of water, right? And maybe that person gives, and then you pay the person through UPI. Maybe it will have its own issues and all of that, but you pay eventually and you come back, right? So this is a transaction, right? So now in this particular thing, do you want to listen to that person? He's willing to give, willing to talk to you. Or is there a need for us? Do you feel there is a need for us to listen to that individual? No, right? Is there anyone here who wants to listen to the shopkeeper? No. All right. So let's go to the next one, right? So you have a close friend, right? So that person, so you are looking for a a match for that individual, right? And you are also going along with that individual, right? To that, family, right? And you're going with that individual, right? And after this, the person could potentially decide, okay, whether or not that match is suitable, etc. Right? So there is, you go along with the family, right? So at this point in time, when you go there, so let's say, along with that person's family, you also went to the family. At this point in time, do you want to listen to that family, whatever they're going to say?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You are not just going to listen, you are all eyes and ears, right? Everything that happens there is sort of important. Why? Because we are trying to listen to, one, we want to form a relationship, right? We want to form a relationship with that family, and that relationship with that family is important, right? So we want to listen to them, and also we want to sort of speak carefully and all of that stuff, right? And then we would, so when relationship is important, listening becomes important, If relationship is not important, then he'll say. So in the first one, the transaction, we are not interested in listening to that guy, right? On the shopkeeper. But here, it is very important. So when we keep any relationship, right? It can be with the client, it can be with the team member, it can be with a family member, it can be with a friend. When that relationship is important, we tend to listen. When that becomes a very high priority for us, when you want to listen, what will we do? Right? So let's take the same example. Okay? So you are there, let's assume for the time being that just you and the other person are there, right? Along with that, the other, person's family is also there. Let's say a couple of people are there from their side. Okay? So let's imagine how that will be and how our actions will be. Can we say how those are going to be?
It'll be all pleasant.
Okay.
We'll try to understand more about them. We'll try to understand more about us.
So how will it be? So I want you to sort of see what will you be looking at? Will you be looking at the sky or whatever is there on the ceiling? Or will you be looking at the phone? Will you be looking at the TV? Where will you be looking at?
We'll try to interact with them. That's where we'll focus.
Correct. Right. So the question is very clear. So where will you be looking?
At them.
At them. Right? They said something. Okay? They said something, this person, they'll try to say something positive about themselves or something like that, right? Okay. So then we'll say, okay, this guy or girl, so he's very nice, whatever, right? So very nice fellow, whatever. Then what will you say? What will you do? You'll be looking at somewhere else? Or you'll say, oh, really? Will you say that? You'll not say that, right? What will you say?
Thank you.
Huh? Okay.
Thank you.
When you say, okay, thank you.
Oh, okay.
Will you say thank you? Or will you say, thank you very much? You won't say those things, right? What will you say? Say,
Okay.
Okay. Right? You'll say, yes, okay. All right. So what is going on in that saying, okay? You're looking at them, right? And you're nodding, right? When you say, okay, I understand it and I'm receiving this information. Correct? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Right? So when we say these things, so what seems like, I think, so Sinha had mentioned this, that we maintain eye contact, right? We listen to them. We listen to their words, right? We listen to their actions. We listen to their feelings also. Understood? So we are in a listening mode. Why are we doing all of this? Because relationship is the most important one. And when we keep that as a high priority, all these other things automatically follow. Okay? But the symptoms of these are the eye contact, okay? Are the fact that we are actually trying to listen to them, hear them, right? And we are nodding, the summarizing at the end. All of these are symptoms of it, the ones that follow because we put relationship on the top. Okay? Just because we do all the other things, the first thing doesn't happen. Got it? See, many times when we look at soft skills, right? So these a lot of material on the web tends to focus on the symptoms part of it. not on the main thing. Just getting it? Yes. So if we put the relationship on the top, these other things, of course, we have to be conscious of the body language also, right? We have to listen to them. We have to make the eye contact, etc. If it is not there, then automatically there's a problem. But just because these are there doesn't mean that we will be able to convey to them that the relationship is important. You understand? So, does anyone want to add anything here?
That listening thing, I just thought of a similar situation, but on seem to mind that we are. So okay, let us imagine that we are a system consultant. Okay, we're meeting a specific client from a organization we know reasonably well. After some pleasantries, the client tells us some performance issues on the system. We nod our head vigorously, and then we say, okay, yeah. We drop in some jargons, tech jargons, and then we say, yes, they have that same problem over at that part of the organization. And while we are pretty sure that what we suspected all along is in fact the case, that they have an architecture design issue. Okay, that is the issue. Okay? And we ask one killer question to make sure, that is the issue, and we get the answer that we expected. Then we say, listen, so what if we reconfigured some basic architectural features? It wouldn't have to take long. We have a process for doing it called, blah, blah, blah. I'll leave you a brochure, and it'll not only solve the performance problems you're having, it'll make your users, like it. Right? And so we expect that we have understood the problem and we gave them a solution, and, the client will agree to it. But more often than not, the client would back off at that stage, right? Because even though if our answer is absolutely 100% correct, okay, the client will not buy it until and unless we earn that right to even discuss that problem statement. At that point in time, we haven't earned that right because we haven't fully listened to what is going on. So yeah, so this is a case where we might jump too soon to commitment and action, but like before listening. So just wanted to.
Anyone else? Guys, jump in. If you have any thoughts, right? So everyone needs to hear you as well. So just jump in, please. Okay, please. I'm not able to see everyone also, so I don't even know, or Sina doesn't even know if you want to speak. Right? So just jump in. Right? Okay. All right. So. All right, so let's move forward. So Sina, see, I did not understand what framing is. Are you going to come to that, or maybe if you can explain it, that will help, unless you're going to come to it.
Sure, yeah. So framing is the act of condensing and defining the problem statement in an objective manner that provides a fresh way of thinking about the problem. So this is very specific on the trusted advisor front, so where they deal with some personal issues as well. That is when you'll have to frame that issue correctly. What is the issue, so that you can then move on to the next step of how to solve it. But in our case, it's not that much relevant. It's basically framing the problem statement. What is the situation?
Got it. Okay. All right. Okay. So I think maybe just a couple of things that I just want to add here. So one is, see, after listening, right? So listening is trying to first understand the problem, right? So in our case, I'm specifically taking the example of a sales call, right? Because at that point in time, this is the first time we are chatting with them, right? So I listen to the client, and after we listen to the client, right? So we summarize. So that's one aspect that I had mentioned, right? So after that is over, they say, oh. Sorry, it's already 10:15, huh? Okay, so after that is over, so we also come to a stage where, we echo back, right, what the client has said, So echoing back is a great way for us to convey to the client that, hey, we have understood it, whatever you have said, right? And then we can, the envisioning part of it, this is where many times what we do is the client actually comes to us with a specific problem, okay? But sometimes it happens that what the client is looking for is not a solution to the client's problem, okay? So, and in fact, we could benefit a lot from it, but it doesn't serve the client's problem, okay? And in fact, it takes them in the wrong direction, okay? It happened once that the client had called, okay? And so the client had expressed an interest with something like this, where it is, you know, sort of he wanted an Excel focused tool that will essentially do the job of sitting between a data, an application and a database, okay? And what I told him is, see, I think we can do it. It will take actually a lot of effort to do it. But I think what you should do is you should check out if this same company has put out a driver or certain other tool, right, that will extract that information to send it out to, a database, okay? Because this kind of a thing, this is, you know, way long back, actually, few years ago, maybe 6 years ago, something like that. And so at the time, you know, maybe this had an API, did not have an API. So this middleware, you know, if I can call it that, right? So the client actually checked that out. And in fact, the client found a tool that the same company had given, okay? And he thanked me saying that, okay, you know, I actually found it. Thank you so much. Okay. And I was like, okay, we lost that particular project. That is fine. But a few days later, the client came back with another problem that we could actually solve for them. Okay. In a way, you could say that, okay, they built a little bit of a, trust, even though I think what I was trying to do was not to quote unquote earn trust. What I was trying to do was, hey, this is not the right thing for the client. Okay, so we wouldn't do it, even though it translates into more revenue or business or project or whatever that is. We wouldn't do it, right? Because that's not the right thing, you know, because they could just spend maybe a fraction of the cost and get a better tool than what we can do, in which case it is not good for the client. So we should actually be honest and tell that to the client. That's what I was actually trying to do. So it so happened that, you know, sort of the client, the relationship got extended, you know, in a different way.